Hello everyone, today we will be talking about the concept of extension. Under this topic, we will be looking at the overview of extension, definition of extension, core of the extension definition, three main elements of extension, objectives of extension, principles of extension, and the types of extension. As the title suggests, this presentation will focus on the concept and practice of agriculture extension. Rural extension is now a common activity in most countries of the world, especially the developing countries, and it is a basic element in programs and projects formulated to bring about change in rural areas. The rural people should know and adopt useful research findings from time to time and also transmit their problems to the research workers for solutions. As we have seen from the past discussion, it is important for the farmers to be aware of and incorporate the recent developments or innovations in the field of agriculture so that they can increase the production of their crops at lower cost and maintain healthy environment as much as possible. But at the same time, it is also important for them to convey their problems to the research workers so that the research people can develop solutions for their problems. On the other hand, the researchers neither have the time nor are they equipped for the job of persuading the villagers to adopt scientific methods and to ascertain from them the rural problems. Thus, an agency is required to bridge the gap between the research workers and the people at large. And the agency who act as a bridge between other organizations and institutions is known as extension, and the personnel managing this agency is called as extension agent, EA. Thus, extension is essentially the means by which new knowledge and ideas are introduced into rural areas in order to bring about change and improve the lives of the farmers and their families. Here we will be looking at some of the definitions of extension. Extension literally means the act of extending or stretching out or an application of an existing system or activity to a new area. However, extension is a term which is open to a wide variety of interpretation. Different individuals or organizations may view extension as per their understanding depending on their past experiences or association with such type of institutions. In other words, there is no single definition of extension which is universally accepted or which is applicable to all situations. Furthermore, extension is a dynamic concept in the sense that the interpretation of it is always changing. Extension, therefore, is not a term which can be precisely defined, but one which describes a continual and changing process in rural areas. Having said that, let's look at some of the interpretations of the term extension. Extension is an out-of-school system of education in which adults and young people learn by doing. Its fundamental objective is the development of people. Or, extension education is defined as an educational process to provide knowledge to the rural people about the improved practices in a convincing manner and to help them to take decisions within their specific local conditions. The most simplest way of defining extension is, it is providing necessary information to help people form sound opinions and make good decisions. All the definitions provided here emphasizes that extension is a process which occurs over a period of time and it is not a single one-time activity. Also, it is an educational process which works with rural people, supports them and prepares them to confront their problems more successfully. Core of the extension definition. Extension provides necessary information, help people or farmers to form sound opinion, help farmers make good decisions, facilitate providing necessary means and inputs, translate newly acquired information, knowledge or skills into actions, and for socio-economic benefits or profits to farmers. Three main elements of extension. Extension can be understood better when its three main elements are considered, and these three elements are knowledge, communication, and farm family. As we have already seen, it is important for the farm families to get connected with the research workers so that they can exchange the problems and the solutions accordingly. Extension is not directly concerned with generating knowledge. However, the extension makes the scientific knowledge available to the farm families. Therefore, rural extension is a process whereby knowledge is communicated in a variety of ways to the farm family. This process is usually carried out by an extension agent who is in direct contact with the farmers and their families. To do this extension work, the agents have to be trained in different aspects of the extension processes, such as developing technical knowledge, communication skills, and in application. We will discuss more on these topics in the next presentation. Objectives of extension is to promote sustainable agriculture, help farmers improve their opinion forming and decision making skills, which may help the farmers develop self-confidence, to explore technologies and innovations to be incorporated into their farming practices, and this cycle or process may continue, which will in turn help in the increase in the production. Enhance farmers' planning, organizational and analytical skills, help identify and analyze farmers' problems and solutions, facilitate information sharing and interaction among agencies and farmers, facilitate active participation of farmers in developmental process, provide timely feedback to policy makers on extension issues and constraints so that the policy makers can plan accordingly to mitigate the extension issues and constraints or provide solution to the problems. Principles of extension. In order to understand and work as an extension personnel, it is important to understand the principles which help in guiding them. Here we have 5 main principles of extension that we are going to discuss about. At the same time, we will also briefly look into some other principles. 1. Extension works with people, not for them. Extension is accountable to its clients. Extension is a two-way link. Extension cooperates with other rural development organizations, and extension works with different target groups. Extension works with people, not for them, meaning the extension agent helps the farmer in providing tools required to make informed decisions, but the ultimate decision has to be made by the farmer regarding their farming practices or lifestyle. Extension agents do not make these decisions for them. Extension work with rural people. Rural people can and do make wise decisions about their problems if they are given full information including possible alternative solutions. By making decisions, people gain self-confidence which will further create ripple effect. Extension therefore presents fact, helps people solve problems and encourages farmers to make decisions. Moreover, humans tend to have more confidence in programs and decisions which they have made themselves than in those which are imposed upon them. Extension is accountable to its clients. It is said that extension services and agents have two sets of masters. On one hand, they are accountable to their senior officers and to the government departments that determine rural development policies. Agencies are expected to follow official policies and guidelines in their work. On the other hand, extension is the servant of rural people and it has the responsibility to fulfill the needs of the people in its area. When the extension agent is able to carry out the policies and plans well and at the same time is successful at improving the incomes and living standards of the rural people, then the objectives of the extension services will be automatically achieved. The extension programs are based on people's needs as well as on the technical and national economic needs. Therefore, the extension agent's task is to bring these needs together. For example, the government's policy may be to increase the amount of organic food production in the country by encouraging the mass of small farmers to increase their output by improving or transitioning their farming methods. National needs and farmers' needs can be satisfied together. Extension is a two-way link. Extension is not a one-way process in which the extension agent transfers knowledge and ideas to farmers and their families. As much as the scientific findings and recommendations are important to be communicated to the farmers, the flow of information from farmers to extension and research workers is equally important. Thus, extension should be ready to receive farmers' ideas, suggestions or advice as well as to give them. This two-way link between research, extension and the farmer is fundamental to sound extension practices. Figure 1 shows how an extension agent acts as a bridge between the farmer and the researcher. This two-way flow of ideas can occur at different stages. 1. When the problem is being defined. The EA can make the researchers understand the problems in the local area, meaning the extension agents being in regular contact with the farmers, they can help research workers to understand the farming problems of the area and the limitations under which farmers have to work. It is even better if the agent can bring researchers into direct contact with farmers in order to ensure that research recommendations are relevant to the farmers' needs. 2. When recommendations are being tested in the field. A new farm practice or crop variety might produce good results at a research station but not do so well on a farmer's field. Trials on farmers' fields are an opportunity to test research recommendations and provide feedback for research staff. 3. When farmers put recommendations into practice. Sometimes farmers discover problems with the recommendation which the research station failed to note. With the feedback, the recommendation recommendations can be adjusted accordingly. Extension cooperates with other rural development organizations. Within rural areas, extension services and agents should work closely with other organizations that provide essential services to the farmers and their families. Extension is only one aspect of many economic, social, and political activities that seek to produce change for the better in the rural society. Extension, therefore, must be prepared to collaborate with all other such organizations, both government and non-government, and to take them into account when preparing to implement extension policies. The kinds of organizations with which extension services should cooperate include political institutions and local political leaders whose active local support will help the extension agent, who may thereby be brought into closer touch with local farmers, such as GUFs, MUNGUFs, TOPAs, and CHIPINs. Support organizations such as agents who supply agricultural or other inputs. For example, we have seed and fertilizer agents across the country. Health services, so that the extension agent is kept aware of local health problems, because agriculture development and health are closely related. Local schools. The extension personnel can educate the students on farming or seek help from the local school for various situations, such as using their facilities to train farmers or conduct meetings. And community development, whose objectives will be very similar to the educational work of extension. Extension agents often work very closely with community development workers to break down local social and cultural barriers to change and encourage community action programs. Moreover, it is essential that the extension agent is aware of their colleagues in other services and government departments regarding their activities or progresses, and it is also important for them to understand the agricultural extension agents. Cooperation with others can make it easier for the extension agents' work, whose ultimate aim is to improve the livelihood of rural communities. 5. Extension works with different target groups. Extension recognizes that the rural communities have farmers with diverse backgrounds. It can be cultural or socio-economic. For example, some farmers may be progressive and eager to try out new things, while others may be reluctant. Therefore, extension cannot offer a single package of advice suitable to all farmers. Different groups needs to be identified, and the agent will have to develop programs appropriate to each group. The traditional way of promoting progressive farmers may no longer be ideal. It is important for the extension agent to respond to these diverse groups of people accordingly. At the same time, the existence of farmers with different resources, skills, and need in any one community can be used for promoting extension activities to develop people. When farmers and their families of different or diverse backgrounds come together, they can act as a resource pool. For example, if you have 5 farmers, they may have different knowledge and skills that can be utilized to solve a problem. Now let's look at some other principles of extension. Principle of interest and need. It must begin with the need and interest of the farmers. EA should first identify the interest and need of the farmers, which require immediate attention and can be fulfilled with available resources. We have already seen that it is easier for the farmers to develop a sense of belonging or a sense of ownership of a project or a program if it is based on their interest and their needs. Principle of grassroots approach. Extension worker must start from where the people are, meaning the program must be based on the situation, needs, and interest of the rural people. Principle of cultural differences. Extension education takes into consideration the culture, tradition, customs, beliefs, taboos, etc. of the people. Different culture requires different approaches. Principle of whole family approach. Extension is family directed. All the members in the family must be developed equally, as each member of the family has a great influence in decision making. Principle of cooperation and participation. Cooperation and participation of people is of fundamental importance for success of any development program. For any program, people must feel that it is their own program. Principle of learning by doing. Farmers hesitate to believe theories until they see with their own eyes. Therefore, farmers should be encouraged to learn new things by doing and direct participation. Principle of leadership. Local leaders are guardian of local thought and actions. Involvement of leaders in the extension programs is one of the most important factors which may determine the success or failure of the program. As we have already seen, whether be it GUP, who is officially elected, or an elderly person who is highly looked up to by the farming communities, then it becomes much more easier to influence the farmers through them. Principle of satisfaction. Satisfaction of people people is very important in extension work. If the people are not satisfied by participating in program, they will not participate in the future. Principle of evaluation. It is necessary to review the development program to see whether or not the extension work is proceeding in right direction. If not, it is necessary to correct them. Extension program is educational in nature, therefore its effectiveness should be measured in terms of the changes in the people, such as their attitude or behavior. Types of extension. There is no one universal type of extension, but a variety of activities and approaches which can be called extension. Since food production is the basis of a rural economy, agricultural extension is the most common type of extension to be found in rural areas. But the areas of knowledge and new ideas that farmers and their families require are not restricted to agriculture. There are other aspects of family life in which new knowledge and practices can lead to improvement. Here it is broadly classified as agriculture extension and non-agriculture extension. Under agriculture extension, in the regions where cash crops such as cotton or sugar are grown, the single crop extension approach is more commonly used. However, in Bhutan, the whole farm approach is practiced. An agriculture extension service offers technical advice on the agriculture to farmers and also supply the necessary inputs and services to support their agricultural production. It shares information and new ideas developed by agricultural research stations such as PAJO or USPANG. Agricultural extension programs cover broad area including crop production and animal husbandry. Where appropriate, agricultural extension may also help to build up local farmers groups and cooperatives. Non-agricultural extension includes all activities and efforts not directly related to agriculture or livestock production, but which are important to the farm families. For example, health services, finance services such as BDBL, population education, including non-formal education provided to the farmers in the evening in Bhutan.